Sunday morning, August 27, and I'm not quite feeling like I'm in heaven, but I decided to start going live, and it ain't no jive. Don't call me Clive, unless you want to. I have a few things to say, so let's play. I just was watching some debates from earlier this week from the Republican Party. I didn't see it live. I just caught the ending last Thursday. I had to work. So I didn't really feel like a jerk that I didn't pay attention, but I just happened to turn the TV on and they were summing up. I have to say that this newcomer, this Indian guy, I don't even know how to say his name. He's got a lot of energy. He's really got a lot of spark. And like that Kelly Conway indicated, he's channeling Trump from 2016. On the other hand, you have this Chris Christie, who's totally unpopular at that debate center. People are booing him as he's talked, they're drowning him out. He's really just wants to be the spoiler. He wants to go after Trump. That's his big Trump card. And that's not going to take him very far. He doesn't have a chance, a snowball's chance in hell to be nominated as a Republican Party person to run for president. I don't know what the hell he thinks he's doing. He's getting publicity, he's getting airtime. He'll go back to ABC, and then he'll start to talk with that black commentator, the Democratic lady with the gray hair, and they seem to get along. They have a nice rapport, and that's really where he belongs. Because he's an articulate guy, he's smart, but he just isn't that popular. I remember he was governor of New Jersey. And damn that guy, he, out of spite, clogged up the bridges for people coming in. And I, at the time, was coming in a lot from upstate New York. And I had to wait, what, a half an hour to get onto the George W. Bridge. And I read that he did that despite the mayor of Fort Lee for some reason. And then they had a big brouhaha over that. And some of his subordinates took the sword that they had orchestrated it. And that was like, come on, give me a break. He had to know. And then that day he was out on the beach when he shut the beaches down and he was there with his family. That was not a good sight. Not a good sight to behold. So let it be told, I don't think Christie is a good candidate. I don't know who else is. They say this DeSantis guy is. He doesn't seem to be doing much so far. There's a ways to go. But Trump is in the lead by many, many points. And I'm a thinking, like that, I'm a thinking, like Sergeant York, hillbilly guys, I'm a thinking. This guy is setting himself up to be the VP candidate running with Trump. And they're going to be making a lot of noise. Well, boys will be boys, but Trump is being indicted left and right, but he's still putting up a fight. I got to admire the guy's resilience. If I was attacked and indicted and went after, I would cower up. I would protect myself. But this guy just keeps coming back like a duck in water. It's just right over his back. Could he win again? I don't know. Excuse me. I think there's a lot of people out there that aren't going to vote for him because of what he's gone through. And I'm not talking about staunch Democrats who would never vote for him or staunch Republicans who would. I'm talking about the central kind of middle of the road Democrats like me and independents who I used to be until I moved to NYC. A lot of them, and women too, those could be crucial votes that could make a difference. I mean, he got 75% of the votes last time. I mean, 75 million votes last time, and it wasn't enough. Biden supposedly got 80 million. Where those votes came from, a lot of them were write-ins. They were all stuffed in the ballots. And Trump said it was rigged, and he could be onto something, but there was no smoking gun. So I say you got to have a smoking gun. You got to prove it. They did investigate, and they found no irregularities. They probably sent people out and paid these people that don't usually vote to vote, and under goodwill that they would be voting for their man, Trump. So, not Trump, Biden. So when the polls close, traditionally you would say, this is what I want. I want everything counted, and I want the results that day or night. That night usually, right? That late evening. But now it's a whole different ball game. It's like, hey, we got to count these votes, these write-in votes, and it's going to take a couple weeks. And that's not good. And I'll tell you, as it stands now, most of those write-in votes are all Democrat. So I was reading where Herschel Walker, who ran for senator in Georgia, when the polls closed, he was already down 200, 300,000 votes for write-ins. You can't overcome that. And I don't think Trump would this time either. Biden's going to get those write-in votes again. He's going to win again. And in a way, to me, that's a sin, because I think he's done us in a lot of ways with his policies or lack of. He just decided not to do anything that Trump did. So he immediately opened the borders, and we've had a crisis that is unprecedented here. Asylum seekers are piling in, and they keep piling in. It's like a broken faucet. They can't shut it. And even Democrats are crying bloody murder. You like that murder? Murder? Anyway, that's just the beginning. He became president, and he got us out of Afghanistan. But he did everything effing ass backward. He said we had time, and they immediately, the Taliban, they were all in control. And what they were saying is it should have been done in reverse. People should have been told to leave. They should have taken them out. They should have got everybody out. They should have got all our equipment out, which ended up in the hands of the Taliban. To them, I'm not a fan. And also, those weapons were high tech, expensive, costly, and they were all gone as we left. And the worst insult, the worst fatal insult was they had to tell us, okay, you compromised yourself by the way you pulled out. We got the airports covered, and we're going to let you go. Everything's going to be smooth. But then they had to bomb those beautiful Marines that lost their lives unnecessarily. It wasn't in combat. They were just sitting there in the airport area or whatever, and they claimed that it was another group. But that's what we had to take. And those are lives lost that never should have happened. And we should have left. We should have just uh, did something to the bases that we use. Just make them whatever. I'm not saying bomb them or just put them out of service. And everybody's out. The equipment's out. The people are out. And then we say, okay, it's all yours. But no. Biden, he didn't want to listen to anyone. He just immediately wanted to be a hero and get this done before the end of the year or the end of the summer. And it really hurt us in a lot of ways beyond that. It started our foreign policy decline in a lot of ways with these countries that Trump seemingly dealt with quite well. I'm talking about our adversaries like Iran and China and Russia. I think that they were afraid of Trump because he is unpredictable. They didn't know what he was going to do. They can read Biden like a book. It's the old leftist Democratic playbook. And Trump was making people accountable when he was president. He made them pay. He made people pay. Other countries, they had to pay their fair share, he was saying. And he was getting us in great setup. And with our economy, our energy policy was self-sufficient. We were in great shape. The gas prices were down. What did Biden do? He got rid of all our energy sources that we did ourselves. He shut them down. Then he had to cower and beg the Saudis for oil. And they won't produce more oil than they want to. And what happens when the oil prices, the energy prices go way up? The economy goes kaput. And we had inflation. We still do. Food prices, everything's gone way up. And I can attribute all of this to Biden, his administration, because the buck stops at the top. The quarterback gets the glory and he gets the blame. Rodgers is taking over the Jets now, and if they win, he's going to be a hero in New York City. Depending on how much he wins, well, the ultimate is going to the Super Bowl and winning it for the first time since Joe Willie Namath did in '69. And Joe Willie, his career stats, he has more interceptions than touchdown passes. And he's in the Hall of Fame, and he's considered a legend. But I'll tell you, looking just at his stats alone, he's not worthy to be in the Hall of Fame. But that one season when they beat the Baltimore Colts, they were 19-point underdogs, the greatest underdog group, the third Super Bowl. Green Bay had dominated the first two. They beat Kansas City and Oakland, but now we have Joe Willie predicting a victory and coming through. And the Jets won 16-7. The game was 16-0 at a certain point. And I remember I was an NFL fan because my dad was. I was like in 7th grade, 8th grade. And it was frustrating watching that game because the Jets had the answer for everything. They ran the ball. They played good defense. They got interceptions. I remember Johnny Sample. Johnny Sample was 24. He played for the Baltimore Colts when they were in the early 60s. And their coach was Weeb Eubank. So Weeb was now no longer the coach of the Colts because Don Shula had taken over. But the Jets, hey, they had Weeb now, or was Weeb the coach of the Jets? I'm sorry if I'm a little missing on this a little bit, but that was a tough Super Bowl, and that changed the whole scope of the NFL. I mean, it led to the merger of the AFL and NFL. Because the next year, the Kansas City Chiefs won. and they beat Minnesota quite well. So that was 2 in a row. And ironically, in the 5th Super Bowl, Baltimore won as an AFL team because they had realigned the leagues. And they beat Dallas, of all people, in the 5th Super Bowl, 16-13. Then Dallas won. Then Miami won. I don't want to go in chronological order, but I know Pittsburgh won a bunch in the 70s, as did Dallas had won. Oakland won 1. Then Oakland went into the early 80s, and then I went to LA. I lived in LA. I saw Oakland beat Washington. Washington had beaten Miami the year before. I was out in LA. I could have gone to that game. That was when there was a strike-shortened season, and I didn't pay attention. I could have gone. They were like giving tickets away that day. And I remember later on, a few years later, when the Giants came to play Denver, I went back to Pasadena, where the Super Bowl also was, along with that previous one with Washington and Miami. And there was no tickets being scalped at a cheap price. There was all these New York scalpers, and they were not going to give any deals. They were going to get the price they wanted. There's no way I could have gotten into that game. I could have gotten into that Washington Dolphin game. I remember I was at USC doing a student film, something like that. And I could have gone to that game. And I remembered, maybe it was UCLA. I used to go to games in the Rose Bowl. I went to Rose Bowl games a lot. I had a lot of fun. I saw UCLA beat Illinois in 1984. And that was a nice Rose Bowl game. It was like January 1st, and it's like 80 degrees in LA and across the country. I know where I'm from, upstate New York, it's freezing, it's cold, and I just felt glorious. But let's get back to who is notorious. I'm not really a political guy, but I did have to vent my spleen about that guy who just is determined to go green. We need energy. Energy is the base. And we took that away from us. And I'm afraid the Democrats are going to win again. They're going to stuff the ballots with write-ins. They're going to have Biden probably against Trump. There's going to be a lot of people who just won't vote for Trump. And we'll have 4 more years of Biden's nonsense. And he's just like a puppeteer. He's like a puppet master. He's being driven by a puppet master behind the scenes. They're telling him what to do. He made a pact with the devil, so to speak, to get that nomination, because he wasn't even at the top of the pact of the Democratic Party. And he was like staying in his home in Delaware. And that congressman from South Carolina, a black gentleman, he's the one that really made the difference to get Biden going. And Biden became president. And they're going to do the same thing again. They're going to stick to the same playbook. And I'll tell you, I don't know what the hell's going on in Ukraine, but we're spending billions and billions of dollars out there. And that is going, it's not coming back. We got tons and tons of people pouring into this country. They're good people. There's nothing wrong with them, but there should be a policy that is more control. And I know Trump was criticized because they were separating families. Not good. But there was a reason behind that, because the adults were using the kids as shields, they were saying. And they probably were to a certain degree. But then they should have really nuanced it and kept the families together as much as they could, unless they could really detect that something awry was going on. Am I sounding like a moron? Or am I right on? I'll tell you, I feel empowered, and I'm not coward, because I'm sitting here on my derriere, and I feel a bit superior with my thoughts. So tell me what the odds are, and I'll say Star Star, a song I recommend from the Rolling Stones from Goat's Head Soup. Do you remember Star Star? It's really not Star Star, it's Star Fuck. And they keep saying it over and over again. You're a star, fuck a star, fuck a star, fuck a star, fuck a star. But the music is great. It's a great rocker. But I always knew that that didn't become a big hit because of that reason. Because to put it on with all that profanity would be treason to a lot of people. My morning coffee. I always have it black, Jack, and I put a little cinnamon in here and a sweetener, and that's it for me. I have 1 cup, maybe another later in the day, whatever. You see, I don't like to pee when I go outside and mingle with thee. I like to rhyme, and ain't no crime, but sometimes it's forced. And I don't know another word to rhyme to that. That's why I just cling on to something like my brother. How about that? There seemed to be a freeze there, a brain freeze. And I didn't even have to sneeze. I remember they used to say, if you ever sneeze, every time you sneeze, you stop your heart. I don't know if that's true, but that reminds me of Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart. I wrote a little play about that. Yeah, I write plays, short plays. And I had a friend, Rick Poley, and I wrote it Telltale Rick. I took a little different spin on the story because in The Telltale Heart, the guy couldn't stand the way the guy's eye was. The eye kept looking at him, and he ended up killing him. But in my case, I created a character that went to visit Rick. And Rick had me come in, and I laughed about everything. I was like a laughing hyena. And that drove him so nuts, he poisoned me and killed me. It's the same format. Then I had another guy come, a private investigator, checking up on the guy who's disappeared. And he finally, Rick's character starts to go nuts because he keeps hearing the laughter. Instead of the heart pounding for the Telltale Heart, he hears the laughter. And he finally confesses at the end. And I wanted to shoot that, but Rick became ill, and then he passed away. God rest his soul. God rest ye gentlemen. You remember that song from? I don't know why that came to my mind, but I think today I'm doing quite fine. This is my second live show, and I seem to be in the know. I got about 5 minutes left, and I really would like to have people chat, but I don't know if they're doing it. They're not for me. I don't know if anyone's watching this, or you have the right to fight, to party, but to call me or to chat me. And I'll tell you, that's okay for today. But I have a few more minutes. If anyone wants to chat, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just going to finish this up today. I feel a lot better already. Venting my spleen. I don't think I've been overly mean. I'm just trying to be clean and pristine about what's going on in this world the way I see it. You know, when people criticize this left or guys like Biden, a lot of people automatically think you're a right-wing redneck, Trumpite, or whatever. I'm not. I'm just a middle-of-the-road Democrat who thinks our party has been shanghaied over the last half dozen years or so by all this far-left ideology and this woke, whatever the hell that is. And it's a joke. And you know something? I don't even like to toke. THC is not good for me. I have a little liquor, and that sometimes give me some snicker. I get a little crazy. I might be a little hazy. But Don't call me a fugazi. And I'm not lazy. Never have been in my life. And that's why I like to strive or stride. And I have a lot of pride in what I've accomplished, but there's always more that I could have done, I should have done, I would have done. But that's Frank Sinatra saying, that's life. And I don't know all the words. My friend Harvey Kaufman knows all the words to these songs, but I wish I did know some of them. But remember, that's life. You wake up today and tomorrow, whatever, it's gone. But I'm about ready to wrap up. We got a few more minutes to go, make it a 28-minute show. And that's my goal each time, is to do 28-minute shows. Because I did a 28-minute show on Manhattan Neighborhood Network for 20 years. And I had to go in there and get studio time and set everything up. Then I'd edit later on. It would take like a week process to get everything done. But now I can just do this immediately, and I love it. This is the new me, the new Dave Gold, a.k.a. Dave Gold. I'm Dave Sweeney, but I'm still Dave Gold. And so it be told that I'm going to be bold. I'm going to state my views. And if you don't like it, lump it. That's an old time saying, right? So it is. So it is. So it is. Que sera, sera, right? And I am not going to fight anybody who doesn't like what I have to say. Okay? That's just about it for today. I'm just going to wind it down. Maybe I can start acting like a clown this last minute or so. Okay, Joe, who's my brother. I got brother Pete and Pat and Joe. They're all alive and well, which I think is swell. I wish I could see them and talk to them more, but that's the way it is here in New York City. I live in Manhattan. I haven't been out of here in a long time, so I guess if you're going to be stuck somewhere, this ain't a bad place to be stuck. If I move somewhere else, I'd probably be bored myself to death. And I don't want to do that. Not yet. Okay? You want to vet? You want to set something up? This is about it for today. I hope you liked what I had to say. And I just will give you a hey, hey, hey. Let's do this again some other day. Maybe tomorrow. May not be. It'll be soon. So good luck, creature of the Black Lagoon.